All right, so next we go to the main event. This is very strange. I don't know, So they did. So it's Daniel Garcia versus Bryan Danielson, and Bryan Danielson's been off TV forever. He didn't get like a second of promo time before this match. He just comes out. He's wrestling Daniel Garcia. It's the main event. So Bryan Danielson. The gimmick was for a shoot, I guess, that he was out for 6 weeks because he had a concussion. Okay, we know the guy has concussion issues, right? I don't know why they did this, other than the fact that Bryan Danielson sold this excellently to show what his range and what a great worker he is. But they were telling the story in this match that Bryan Danielson hit his head again and may be having concussion issues, okay? And the way he was selling was very, very, very good, okay? And it was just, like, for a performance, this was very good from Bryan Danielson. He's had concussions before and everything, but from a logic standpoint, okay, from what we know about, if they're trying to tell this is like he's having a shoot head injury again, from what we know, it's like we know this is a performance. Okay, stop the match, right? But they ended up telling the story, and so for a brief moment, we had that thing as like, okay, is this a shoot or is it work? Because the way he did a drop kick off the top rope, he landed on his back, but he landed like he hit his head on the mat, right? And Daniel Garcia then started getting heat on him and gave him a DDT on the floor, and Bryan Danielson got color. Mm-hmm. Okay, which was the point being there. You're trying to sell the seriousness of it, but for me, that's where you lost the seriousness of it, because now it's an angle. Because if this guy's had concussion issues in the past and he's selling the things of a concussion for a shoot, bro, we would stop the match. Okay, is what I was getting out of this, right? But basically, he did the thing where, like, Bryan Danielson finally does a comeback, gets cut off and stuff, everything, but Daniel Garcia in 17 minutes and 15 seconds goes over. Mm. And Bryan Danielson's big match coming back, they told this story and put Daniel Garcia over, who's probably been, Daniel Garcia, I think, has been in more main events than anybody in this company.
Yeah, you said a lot.
And I'm still not I'm like, why is this guy still in the main event? So, bro, Konnan, what did you get out of this?
Let me read you a review real quick before Konnan comments, because I want to see what you guys think about this. This is from
Go ahead and read.
This is from Screen Rant, okay? And the guy says, Screen Rant does
Who's that?
movie reviews.
But people gotta have some sort of credibility if you're gonna.
Right. Well, it's a big
you're
site.
Gonna shout him out on the show.
It's a big site.
Screen Rant.
Probably a Mark podcaster. I want to hear the Mark.
No, they do
podcast.
movie reviews and wrestling and all that. It's a pretty big site, but it says the American Dragon sold like he'd been concussed, and the whole thing just felt gross. This was Danielson's first match back since presumably sustaining a concussion during the Anarchy in the Arena fight. To recap, one of the best professional wrestlers in the world, who had literal years of his career taken away due to concussion issues, missed 2 months with what appeared to be a head injury, and AEW decided to use that as a plot device to further a stale feud between the Jericho Appreciation Society and the Blackpool Combat Club. Given everything that scientists know about how concussions affect brains over time, and with wrestling's incredibly dark history with the injury, it felt misguided, out of touch, and if it got Danielson any sympathy from the audiences, it was for all the wrong reasons. So do you think that this was an offensive way to go about it?
Bro, but Konnan made a good point earlier in the show when we were doing this review. Bro, they're trying to get ratings.
So this is,
and I think that maybe they looked at this as like, hey, this is, but bro, it's like when you're trying to get numbers sometimes. But we worked in WCW, we worked for Vince Russo. It's kind of like all cards are on the table when you're trying to get numbers sometimes. If your numbers are underwhelming,
right?
You try things. You try, and like this is what this came across as to me. A lot of the stuff they did was really good on the show, but they tied in a lot of stuff that kind of like looked kind of like a desperate move.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question before I answer that, because we haven't even talked about this. What was the rating for yesterday?
Oh, yeah, let's look at it.
Let's see.
It should have beat up.
Let's see if all this hot shotting worked.
6 minutes ago, ProWrestling.net. AW's Dynamite television show averaged 976,000 viewers, up from 910 last week. So it went up 66,000.
Right, so up about 6%, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. They went up.
Right,
but they still can't. It's not over $1 million. It's like they said it's better, but it's like I think maybe Daniel Bryan. Bro, let me tell you something. It's like what they need on this show. They need Daniel Bryanson back full time. They need Punk back full time. They need MJF back on the show full time.
Yeah, that's a.
There's a lot of guys that aren't on the show that were doing very entertaining television and compelling television that aren't on the show right now. I think they could get over 1 million if they bring those. If MJF comes back and whatever they're doing with him, and when Punk gets back. But it's like Daniel Bryan says
Adam Cole is out too.
He's out too, but like I don't think he moves. I don't think he moves a needle. But
that's their fault. That guy's a star.
Right, but this was a weird way to bring Bryan Danielson back.
Well, let me just say.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna speak on it. It's kind of a snowflake take what the guy's saying. He's right, but I thought it's a very bad taste to use that as an angle. Him having a concussion and falling in the ring like that, especially since we know if that actually happened, they'd stop the match.
Stop the match. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it was very hard for me to get into that. I did not like it.
There was a big,
and it was not necessary.
It was done very well. Bryan
it was done very well, but it wasn't necessary.
Right,
but that's besides the point. Impact, intention doesn't negate impact. You know what I'm saying? So I know what the intention was, but the impact to me was just the same. Was not necessary, just like the bleeding. Why is he bleeding? Not necessary. Right. So those two things were unnecessary. Good match. I understand you need to push young people, and Daniel Garcia's a good-looking kid who can wrestle. He doesn't look like he could lick a stamp. He's very thin, and I think they're pushing him too quick.
Yeah. He's not a big guy.
Yeah, he doesn't, bro.
He's not even big, bro. He's like, bro. Let me tell you something. Per example, he's not even like as big as like Eddie Guerrero.
Like it's very hard for me. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to suspend disbelief, really, with him and what's this other guy's name? Hook.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been the very like I said. I was
good show. Good show.
And a lot of stuff to talk about on this show, which is usually not par for the course because a lot of times we just have matches and there's nothing. But
good swerve, the good swerve with Hobbs, the coming out Ricky Starks with that great promo, Jungle Boy with that great promo out of nowhere. They think the Anna Jay turn is big deal, which it isn't. But they're doing a lot of
Right. Yeah. 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 This show was busy, but so was I was entertained by it. So
yeah. And I thought Sanjay did a great job. I like Sanjay and Lee. Yo, what up? This is Konnan, and I host Keeping It 100. My co-host, Disco Inferno, unfortunately.
Well, I'd say you're my co-host.
Listen, every Thursday here on Spreaker, we talk pro wrestling, sports, movies, music, TV, pop culture, and some politics. It's everything the rest of the pro wrestling podcasts are not.
Tune in to hear myself, the superior one, educate and inform.
Tune in to hear me bury Disco.
That's very disrespectful.
Join us every Thursday on Spreaker and keep it 100. Boom!